So, Rocco, let me go all the way back to the beginning here. How long ago was this idea of having Supra be what it is? How far back are we going here?
Yeah, so it goes even before the name of Supra. I would say it's at least 5 years where I thought about this idea of bringing a CPL team to our province of Quebec because we felt that there's a need for a second professional team in our province because of all the hidden gems that we have in this province of Quebec.
So, was that the genesis of the idea of just having Quebec born players to be the roster, or what was it, just franchise first and then, oh yeah, let's go ahead and do things this way because we've seen it in other places?
No, the foundation has always been the same from day one in terms of having players that are from Quebec. That never changed my I never changed my ways on that. That was the first thing in my mind, and like I said, we built the foundation from there, and then it was to find the way to do the expansion application with the CPL, find investors, get stadium. But the moral of this super story started with Quebec players from day one.
So how I know that having an expansion team in a way is like birthing a child. It's like
Worse.
when you have families that go that way. How much of a challenge has it been for you to put all of these pieces together on the field, off the field, everyone's same message? How much of a challenge has this been?
Yeah, look, it's been a crazy roller coaster ride from day one until the last August 19th, where we got the franchise. That morning, I felt that it wasn't going to happen, right? So, just to show you how ups and downs were like on a weekly basis, but I never give up. I never gave up. I kept on pushing, and for us, there was a motive, right? So the motive was to make people understand in this province that it was a need, and then it's about having all the stars aligning, whether it's infrastructure, investors, the application, the soccer part of it, the business, like everything had to come together, and it did. And we're so happy that we're finally kicking a soccer ball.
I want to get into that in a little bit here, but the on the field product and trying to get that right mix of players. How much of a player base are we talking about here in the province of Quebec, where I have all of these different players that want to be a part of this? How badly was your phone blowing up and WhatsApp and all that kind of stuff about everybody that wanted to be a part of this on the field?
Yeah, so there's two parts to this. On the player perspective, you can imagine how many emails and texts that we got from players that are not from Quebec. Over 300-400 players easily that want to come and try out with our team. And then locally, we did open tryouts. We did 9 different locations of open local tryouts, and we generated over 340 players locally from these tryouts. And then on the coaching side, we have so many good coaches here in Quebec, and we did plenty of interviews. Even though we had a good idea of who we want to go with, we still saw a lot of different good, talented coaches that applied for the job, and we're grateful to know that we do have a lot of good soccer players and good coaches in this province.
I was going to ask, what has this discovery process been like for you? Did anything surprise you about the quality of the player, the personality of the Quebec soccer player, the quality of the Quebec coach? Was there anything that surprised you in this quest?
Um, the only surprise that came in my mind was the willingness for a lot of these players that want to go to the next level. Because, like I said, like I've been working in the amateur world for the last 13 years, and I've seen the talent. I've seen the talented coaches. I've seen the talented players. And Quebec has a certain spice, like and of course I'm being biased because I'm from here, but we play soccer. We don't kick and run. We play a nice brand. We're fearless. We take risks, and that's the Quebec way. It's always been that way in the amateur world of a semi-pro, let's say. But that was a surprise, was to see like how excited players were and coaches were that when they found out we were having a CPL team in our province.
And when you have everyone that is of that same mindset, that same approach, the understanding, because I know it takes a very special individual to want to be a part of this, A, and understand the gravity of it, B, because you're representing your province, you're representing those closest to you, and it's about making that impression about Quebec as a province when it comes to playing and representing. There's a lot of different stuff here that comes into making those individuals the individuals for a first team, because you cannot do a first team a second time.
Yeah, no, you said it well. For us, it was, these players. I played pro soccer in here in Montreal, and I played in Italy for 8 years. And a pro soccer player, it's a job, right? So when you don't, everybody comes from different parts of the world. So at the end of the day, you finish your year, you finish your contract, you're off to the next team, right? That's how it is. Here, the vibe is different because they're all from here. So not only they're playing in front of their friends and family, they're playing in front of the kids of where they played when they were kids. So there's a sense of responsibility in all these players and even all these coaches to say, hey, we have to be role models for the future of this team, which are the ones that are watching us play today. So it's very hard to describe, but it's there's an emotional attachment, and it's a different breed because you're all from here. So when we lose, we're extremely depressed and pissed, but when we win, we're happy because we just won in front of our friends and in front of our family. Or when we lose, we just lost in front of our friends and our family, and now it's like, okay, the next one we got to get better, right? So it's a different vibe. It's a totally different vibe when all the players are from the same place.
Well, and because it's one of those things where you're looking at it, and as both a player and as a front office person, about pressure. There's good pressure, there's bad pressure, and then there's just flat out pressure.
Yeah.
How would you express what kind of pressure or self-expectation there is on the franchise and what you're trying to present?
Yeah. So on the business side of it, on the franchise, on the non-soccer related part, very challenging. Why? Because we're a new product. We're a startup company. So we got to get our name out there on who we are, why we're doing this. So that's something that we're going to be striving and working hard the whole year of 2026 to make people understand why you have to come watch games at our stadium. That's number one. Number two, on the sporting side, it's different because we know a lot of these players were amateur, right? So is someone going to pay a ticket to come watch an amateur player? And that's where the not the issue, but people are saying, well, I used to watch this guy playing semi-pro in Quebec. Why am I going to go pay $25 for a ticket? But the brand of what we're putting on the field is appealing. It's fun soccer. It's ball on the ground. It's possession. It's taking risks, going forward. And so for us, it's like, when we have a corner kick and we're sending our whole team up with no one staying back, it's a statement, right? So it's two different aspects on the business side and on the soccer side that have to eventually align. But I must say, we played our first game against Ottawa in front of 5,000 people, and we lost 1-0, which we definitely dominated the game. But the vibe of the crowd was, okay, what's going on here, right? And then we played our second game against Halifax, and it was the same night as the Montreal Canadiens. We had 3,000 people. We still had 3,000 people, but it was electrifying. When we scored the second goal, it was special, like the vibe, and that's what people have to be connected to, is that local rooted team where I want to go watch the kid that played in that amateur club. So that's the mentality behind and the challenges we have behind the franchise.
So when you're out in the community,
yeah,
you're shopping. It's like, I've got to go and get some, I've got to go find a place that's got to give me some homemade pasta, and I've got to get my carb load and everything. Are you stopped in the streets? Are you wearing the Supra golf shirt and people sit there and go, hey, what's that? And then you explain things. What is the interaction with the community where you are?
So that's a fantastic question. Yes, like myself, I wear Supra everywhere I go. I already have the Supra tattoo on my arm. Like,
wow.
Yeah. So for us, it's like we have to show people who we are. And at the end of the day, Montreal has the Canadians, they have the Alouettes football, they have the Montreal Roses soccer, they have the Laval Rockets hockey, they have the Montreal Victoire hockey girls team. So there's a lot of competition in our space, but it's about who we are. We're a team from Quebec, and that's what people have to start realizing, saying, oh my God, okay, this is a pro sport made by us. And that's the difference. And we're hoping that with time, that's gonna be catchy.
Yeah, and it is It is rouge, blanc, et bleu. I mean,
Yeah.
I know how it's wired there. What has been the most pleasant thing about this experience for you so far?
Um, it's a tough question because I'm sprinting and I'm not walking, so I don't have the time to process what's going on right now because it came very fast. Like we had less than 6 months to put a team together, which is insane, especially that's all local players.
Mm-hmm.
But I get the good vibes from my family, right? So like my wife and my kids, my in-laws, my parents, like they keep on telling me, Rocco, what you've built is very special, and um, it's us, it's who we are here in Quebec. And I'm starting to slowly process. When people say, "Oh my God, how did you figure out to field a soccer team all from Quebec?" And when I walk into this our facility, like we've built a facility for the boys with the dressing room, the admin office is here, the technical office is here, the gym, everything is in one-stop shop. They eat here. They could watch movies. They could play PS5. We have everything in one facility. It was all built in like 4 months. So when I see the players walk in and the coaching staff, and it's all guys that I know my whole life, that's what's special. What's special is that there's no unknowns here. We know each other internally, and it's very, very special. And that's for me right now. What I take in is that everybody that works for this club is part of this community.
So, have you always thought of yourself as a builder, or was this more of a vision quest for you? It's like, I have this grand idea that has to be pursued, or has that always been a part of your DNA to build things and then build things and then build things?
Yeah. So look, playing pro soccer for 12 years, you build a very strong backbone because there's a lot of good days and a lot of bad days. So being on my own at a very young age in Italy at 16 years old, trying to find myself as a person, and then going to war every day with players that are not from my country, right? So like I'm taking someone's spot. So just starting from a player perspective, I built a pretty strong backbone. And then in 2012, when I retired in 2011 and 2012, I retired from pro soccer, and I took over a small amateur club in one of our communities here in Montreal, and I grew a small club from 600 players to 2,500 players. And then we had players like Moise Bombito and Ismael Kone that came out of our club. And this was for me, through the process of building this club, I kept on saying to myself, and thanks to COVID, I had a lot of time to process a lot of things in my brain because we were home. And that's where I said, I got to do better. And there's more out there. And it wasn't really for myself because I was good. Like, honestly, the last job I had a very good salary. I built something very powerful, very strong, community driven. And then I was like, it's not enough for the kids of our community. And so when I put something in my head, I'm very stubborn. And now now I'm a founder of a pro team. So and it's just the beginning, to be honest. So I'm very happy.
What are the challenges that you keep running into? Because you had to assemble this on the fly. You got the okay, then you're building facilities, then you're getting players, then because you've got that deadline of day one, which in itself is another day one because the other deadline is the end of the season. So it's like, okay, I got my okay, I've got a deadline to have everything ready. And now that everything's ready, I've got other deadlines to make other things going down the line here with all these other deadlines. I mean, it seems like it is a never ending process, but where are you in being satisfied with where things are?
Yeah. So like I said before, like there's no walking, we're sprinting, right? Because there's always something to do. Um, on a personal level, the ones that pay the price is my family because I'm never home, right?
Mm.
Like I'm building something, and my wife and kids and my whole immediate family understand that, and they're very supportive. So for me, on a personal level, that's my biggest challenge is not being present for my loved ones, but it's for a very valid good reason. But also on the soccer part, right? It's like you can't make mistakes. Well, you could make mistakes, but you got to learn fast.
Yeah.
And you're running, so it's like you said, there's deadlines. Okay, well, I'll give you an example. We decided to play 3 home games in a row. I'm never doing that again because the preparation of a game day operation is very hectic and very challenging. So I'm overworking my staff. They're completely burned. But then I swayed him to say, in a month from now we have like a 2-3 week little break. So yeah, there's different challenges and mistakes that we do make, but we have to learn from them and just move forward. So right now it's like we're laser focused. We're gonna like storm through 2026, hopefully with good results, and then learn in 2027 to do things easier and better.
What are your on the field expectations this year?
Game by game. There's no expectations for us. The expectations for us is every game, one game at a time. And one thing we do know is that we could be competitive in this league. We've proven it in the first 3 games. But honestly, I'm not thinking playoffs, a championship, not playoffs, a Canada Cup. Like we're soaking in every single game, and whatever comes our way, we'll deal with it in good and in bad.
I know that in that office somewhere where you and I are, where you're sitting and I'm watching, there's got to be a to-do list somewhere. It could be on a Google Doc. It could be on, it could be on, loose leaf binder paper like we had when we were in high school. It could be a notebook like this. It could be legal pad where you've got like 19 different ones of these. Could be on one of those big old dry erase boards, that's like 6 feet by 8 feet, and it's got a bunch of different colors and columns and arrows and everything. Where is that to-do list? And I know that you're probably still adding to it, but I'm going to ask you, what is the next thing that you think that you can cross off of that to-do list is to continue going forward here in year 1 of this sprint that is really a marathon?
Yeah, and you named all the tools that we do use, by the way, all of those tools we use. So one thing that we could check off, and I'm very proud to say this, is on the sporting side. With our sporting director, our technical staff, our players, our physios, our doctors, it's a big green check mark. And doesn't matter about the results, has nothing to do with us winning 2 out of the first 3 games. It's just the professionalism that they brought to the table each and every day has been superb. So that's where the big green check mark is. And then the rest is work in progress, ticketing, communications, marketing, sponsorship, name it. That's the logistical part. The admin part is where each and every day is a crazy grind. But like I said, slowly we're chipping away, and we're starting to understand how things are. We're definitely going to use that whole budget of miscellaneous is definitely being used because there's so many unknowns and unforeseen costs. But it's a learning year for FC Supra. And one thing I got to say about my whole staff is that I have amazing soldiers. They're focused, and they understand why they're doing this, and that for myself is very appreciative.
So then when you, as the commander or the flag bearer, however you want to phrase it, when it comes to all of the soldiers there in the Super Battalion, when you have a question, who is on your speed dial that you can sit there and go, well, I've got a question about, administration. I've got a question about logistics. I've got a question about ticketing. I've got a question about soccer. I've got like on the field question, coaching question, advice. Who are your bartenders in this situation where you can sit there and call them up and go, dude, I got a question, and they're going to pick up the phone and they're going to be there and answer right there for you?
So one thing that I'm very fortunate about, there's certain key players that wear different hats in this club. So when we talk about team, it's my coach, Nick Rizaghi. When we talk about sports operations, it's Matteo Cabinet. When we talk about community-driven activities, it's Paul Debaye. When we talk about ticketing, it's Tuan and this girl, Leonie. When we talk about marketing, it's this guy, Rob Rossi. When we talk about communications, it's Gene and Felipe. Like, no one never does not answer my phone call. When it's the team managers, Shadi or Franco, like, we have, and it's vice versa. Eh? Like, I'm very, very accessible as well. I answer my phone at any time of the day. So all the different hats that people are wearing, they're respecting their roles, and there's a great amount of respect between all of us. We do bicker at each other every single day, but it's for the good reasons. And at the end of the day, like I said, yes, I'm the leader of this club. I founded it and all that, but my ownership group gave me, like we say in French, carte blanche to work. And carte blanche doesn't mean to spend money, but it means to work a certain way. And like I said, it's everybody that's in this club is here for the right reasons. Long hours, because we're brand new. Where it's like having a newborn, like you said it, right? A newborn, you got to nurture it the first couple months. You got to wake up every hour to feed it. This. It's not any different. It's not any different than. But we do pride because of what the project means.
So when you have time to yourself and you want to continue learning, what's the last book or podcast you listened to that you sat there and you went, "Ooh, I like that idea." And as you're learning as a founder and a guy that's wearing about 19 different hats, I guess what's the most recent lesson you learned and where did you learn it from?
Being patient, of course.
Did you learn that from the boss?
Yeah. So it's patience. I think is something that's very needed in my role for sure, because I got to be patient on the field with my coaches to make sure they're doing their job properly. Everything to do on the admin side, giving my team the chance to express themselves when things are not going well. Patience on when ownership has tough questions for myself, and patience at home. Like, at the end of the day, I can't go home and let my stress out on my family. I do vent to my wife, which is the best thing in the world because she takes it. But patience, and I learned that from my parents. They did a good job on raising me in terms of being patient for things in life. And if I foresee like the future of CPL in general, my next objective, and I know we're already running here with Supra, is for the city of Quebec to have a CPL team. That's I think a huge objective that's already in the back of my mind. But because my mind is, like you said, it's always racing. So it's always about soccer thoughts, So what's the next big thing? And I think that's something that could be very important in the near far future for our province.
It's the Placentino MCO. I see how this is going. The multi-club ownership model with you. You've got the matchup coming up at Boreal on the 3rd, 3 o'clock Eastern time. What has study hall been like for the guys getting ready for the matchup against Cavalry?
Cavalry is a good team. Cavalry is a very good team. A lot of experience. We're definitely going to respect them when they come in this Sunday, just because of who they are as a club. I think they've done a fantastic job with Tommy, their coach, and the whole crew at Cavalry. I love what they're doing, and they're a good example for us in the league for sure to look over. But we're going to play the game. We're excited. The first home game in Laval. Like I said earlier, we're from Quebec, so there's definitely going to be we're going to be fearless. We're going to come to this game, and it could be we'll win 2-3-0, or it could be we lose 2-3-0. But we're definitely going to leave everything on the pitch, and we're very excited to have our first home game here at Stade Boreal.
I'm looking forward to it. 2-1 out of the blocks, right there, third in the table in the Canadian and in the CAN PL. Rocco, I can't thank you enough because I know you're running 9,000 miles an hour, and like I said, it was something that we thought that people needed to know about and what's going on up there, following in the ways of Atleti in Spain. It is now happening with Supra there in the Quebec province. I can't thank you enough, my friend. Catch your breath and get properly hydrated, and we'll keep an eye on you. Thanks for dropping in.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.